If you've ever looked at your Social Security statement and felt your heart sink, wondering how on earth you're supposed to live on that amount, I want you to know you're not the only one. Many of us worked hard our whole lives. We raised families, paid bills, helped others when we could. And somewhere along the way, the idea of saving $1 million for retirement just wasn't realistic. Life had emergencies. Life had responsibilities. Life happened. So when people on TV say you need huge savings to retire, it can make you feel like you've failed. But you didn't fail. The system simply wasn't built with real people in mind. In this video, I'm going to show you a different path. A quiet, steady, peaceful way to retire on a small income, like $1,000 a month. Not by sacrificing happiness, not by living with stress, and not by giving up your dignity, but by making thoughtful choices about where you live, how you budget, and how you spend your days in ways that add life, not take it away. This isn't a dream. I've lived it, and I'm here to share it with you gently and honestly, step by step. Before we begin, I want to know something from you, because your voice matters here. Which state are you watching from? Type your state in the comments. I'd love to see how many places this message reaches. 1. Location. The biggest and most life-changing step in this entire journey was accepting that where you live matters more than almost anything else. I know moving can feel overwhelming. Many of us have roots, memories, routines, and comfort in the places we've lived for years. But the truth is, some states are simply too expensive to retire in, no matter how careful you are. You can clip coupons, cook at home, and stretch every dollar, and it still won't work if the rent alone eats your whole check. The key is finding a place where your money works with you instead of against you. When I began looking, I wasn't searching for luxury, I wasn't searching for nightlife or shopping. I was searching for peace, safety, and affordability. I started by making a list of states where the cost of living was much lower than the national average. Over and over, the same places appeared: Alabama, Mississippi, Arkansas, Oklahoma. These states don't tax Social Security the same way others do, and they have lower property taxes and cheaper rent, especially in small towns instead of big cities. I spent months comparing real rental listings, not just articles. I looked at tiny towns with populations under 20,000, places with a grocery store, a clinic, a library, and a slow way of living. Eventually, I found a town in Alabama where a clean, quiet one-bedroom apartment cost around $475 a month. No fancy amenities, but safe, calm, and enough. And most importantly, I could breathe there. Moving wasn't easy. I had to let go of old furniture, familiar streets, and a life I once knew. But I didn't lose anything meaningful. I gained peace, dignity, and the ability to live without fear. And that trade was worth everything. If you want to make a low-income retirement possible, location is the foundation. Without that step, the rest doesn't hold. 2. The budget. Once the location was set, the next step was creating a budget that actually worked in real life, not on paper, not based on ideal circumstances, but based on what real retirement looks like when every dollar matters. The goal wasn't to live with stress or constant sacrifice. The goal was clarity. When you know exactly where your money is going, you gain control, and that control brings peace. My income after the Medicare deduction came out to a little over $1,000 a month, so I built my budget around that number and treated it like a promise to myself. Housing was the biggest piece, so keeping rent low was the deciding factor behind moving. At $475 a month for my one-bedroom apartment, plus around $75 for utilities, my total housing cost came to about $550. This one number is what makes the entire lifestyle possible. If housing is too high, nothing else works. For food, I set aside $175 per month, which meant cooking every meal at home. No restaurants, no coffee shops, simple, nourishing meals, oatmeal, rice, beans, soups, eggs, seasonal vegetables, and whatever was on sale. I also applied for SNAP, which helped stretch the grocery budget and allowed me to include fresh produce and protein without stress. There is no shame in using resources you paid into your entire working life. Transportation was $50 a month. I drove only when necessary. A small town makes that easy. Gas, oil changes, and slow driving kept my old car reliable. Healthcare needed room too. I budgeted $100 per month for copays, prescriptions, dental, and vision. I also joined a Medicare savings program, which reduced my medical expenses significantly. Everything else, phone, internet, toiletries, household items, small personal comforts, came to about $125, and I always allowed $20 for small joys, a book sale, yarn for a new scarf, a community event ticket. That little amount keeps the heart light. This budget isn't glamorous, but it is steady, calm, and livable. And sometimes that's exactly what we need most. 3. Lifestyle habits. Now, the budget is the framework, but how you live each day is what makes this retirement feel peaceful instead of stressful. These small habits are what turn a limited income into a life that still feels full. They aren't about deprivation. They're about being intentional, resourceful, and gentle with yourself. The first and biggest habit was cooking at home. I made a personal rule: no restaurants, no takeout, no quick just-this-once meals. I plan my meals every Sunday based on what I already have and what's on sale that week. I cook big batches of soups, stews, beans, and casseroles so that I always have something ready. When I cook once and eat 3 times, my grocery dollars go much further. And honestly, a warm homemade meal feels comforting in a way restaurant food doesn't. I also grow a little. Nothing fancy, just a few pots of herbs, tomatoes, and peppers. Even a tiny garden saves more money than you realize. And there's something grounding about taking care of something that grows. It brings joy without costing anything. For entertainment, I treat the library like my community center. Books, movies, audiobooks, puzzles, internet, free classes, friendly faces, everything is there. I go to free town events whenever I can, concerts in the park, potlucks, farmers markets before closing time, walking groups. Community doesn't have to cost money. And then there's walking, every day if I can. Not fast, not with intensity, just a peaceful walk. It keeps me healthier, clears my mind, and reminds me that life can be simple and still meaningful. Most importantly, I practice gratitude. I remind myself of what I do have: a safe home, enough food, quiet mornings, and my own time. When you shift your focus to the things that matter, life begins to feel much richer, no matter the income. These habits are not about getting by. They are about living well, with purpose and peace. 4. Healthcare and peace of mind. Healthcare is the part that worries almost everyone, and I understand why. When you're living on a small fixed income, one medical issue can feel like it could break everything. So instead of hoping for the best, I learned how to plan for it. Not perfectly, none of us can, but enough to feel secure and calm. The first thing that changed everything for me was applying for a Medicare savings program in my state. Many people don't know these programs exist, or they assume they won't qualify. But if your income is low, your state may help pay your Part B premium, and sometimes even reduce your out-of-pocket costs. For me, it meant I wasn't drowning in medical bills every time I needed a checkup or medication. If you're in a similar situation, it's worth checking. It's paperwork, yes, but it's paperwork that brings relief. Then I set aside $50 a month for dental and vision because Medicare doesn't cover those. I treat this like a self-care envelope. It grows slowly but steadily, and when I need glasses or a dental cleaning, I already have something saved. That sense of preparation calms the mind more than you'd believe. I also focus on prevention, not in a dramatic way, just steady and gentle. I walk daily. I cook real food. I rest. I don't ignore little health concerns. I talk to my doctor and ask for generic medications every time. I stay informed about what's covered and what isn't. And yes, I accept that if something major happens, like long-term care, I may need Medicaid later in life. That's not failure. That is what the system is there for. The goal is not to avoid every problem. The goal is to remove fear and replace it with a plan you trust. So here's what I want you to take away from all of this. Retiring on a small income is not about settling for less. It's about choosing differently. It's about learning what truly matters to you and building a life around peace instead of pressure. For years, many of us were told that unless we had a huge savings account, we were destined to work forever or live with constant worry. But that simply isn't the only path. A quiet, steady, meaningful retirement is still possible when you build it with intention. The three pillars that made this life possible were simple: location, budgeting, and daily habits. Moving to a low-cost area wasn't just about rent. It was about giving myself breathing room. Creating a budget wasn't about restriction. It was about clarity and dignity. And the slow, steady habits, cooking at home, walking, using the library, staying connected, those are what turned this from just surviving into truly living. No, this lifestyle isn't fancy. It doesn't have luxury vacations or expensive outings. But it has peace. It has mornings without stress. It has the joy of small routines. It has the comfort of knowing you are okay. And there is a deep kind of richness in that, one that money alone cannot buy. If anything in this resonated with you, I want you to know something very clearly. You are not too late. You are not behind. You are not alone. There is still a path forward that allows you to rest, breathe, and feel secure. And I would really love to hear from you, because your story matters too. Tell me gently in the comments below, what do you want most in your retirement? Peace, health, or companionship? Your answer will help shape what we talk about next, together.